Hey Generators, it's Jordan and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now Generators, as you can see behind me on the pop vinyls and of course on this shirt, I am a massive DC fan. And recently, Crisis on Infinite Earths hit TV screens and I've been anticipating this all year and ever since it was teased a couple years back on The Flash, and I've been looking forward to it for a very long time and it has finally hit, so I thought I have to exclaim my excitement and review it on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, this is my review for Crisis on Infinite Earths. It'll be a long one, and there are spoilers, so bear in mind, but let's just get on with it. This is just going to be a quick intro, just so I can start this review. The way it's going to work is I'm going to break it down part by part, and yeah, so here we go. Alrighty, let's begin this review with part 1. Now, can I just say that part 1 started with an amazing opening sequence with, all the cameos. There was the Titans, there was Burt Ward, there was the Ray, and I thought those cameos were really cool, and it was like a great way to pay homage to all the series and also introduce them to the Arrowverse and show you that by their Earths being destroyed, it shows you the real stakes of the event. And so I thought that it was really cool. And then Argo got destroyed, which I absolutely loved, and especially when they sent Jonathan to Earth, and because it was such a great parallel to when Clark was originally sent to Earth, and I thought it was really cool. And then we move on to Harbinger. Harbinger goes and recruits all the heroes, the legends, everyone, and I thought that sequence was really awesome. However, I did feel it was kind of rushed. Like, we didn't even see Barry's reaction to Lila becoming Harbinger because, he's known Lila for many years and we never actually saw his reaction. Well, not really much of it. And also Batwoman's line in the trailer when Lila goes, "The multiverse is in danger." And then she replies saying, "I'm sorry, the what?" Like, I'll show you right now.
"The multiverse is in great danger." "I'm sorry, the what?"
That was never, ever in the actual episode, and I feel like they used a lot of their time in the episode on things that weren't necessary, and that stuff could have dragged on a little bit longer, but that's just one little complaint. It was still a really cool sequence. Once Harbinger recruits all the heroes, they assemble in the DEO, or the Department of Extra Normal Operations, if you will. And I thought that scene, especially when they all stand united and stuff, it was really cool. And they really felt like Justice League. I mean, I know the showrunner of Crisis, Mark Guggenheim, said they weren't allowed to use the name Justice League, but they really felt united as one, which they haven't felt in a while, since Crisis on Earth X back in 2018. So yeah, I thought that scene was really cool. And also in this scene, Brainiac, when he was saying to John, this one speaks to rabbits about Batwoman and stuff, I thought that scene was very funny. Just throughout the whole episode, Brainy was really funny. He was more the comedic, he created the comedy in the dark and intense circumstances. So I thought that was really cool. Once Supergirl finds out that her mum, Laura, I think her name is, had passed away in the destruction of Argo, Superman and Supergirl go to mourn on the balcony. They go to mourn, the destruction of Argo and the loss that they've had. And I thought that scene was very emotional. I felt empathy for them. But however, I did think the scene dragged on for just a little while. As with the whole episode, the pacing was the main issue, and especially in this scene, you just had that amazing action sequence, an amazing recruitment sequence. It was all really cool at the start, and then throughout this middle part, it was just it was very storyline oriented in the middle, and then it really picked up towards the end. But this part was just a little bit, it was good, but pick it up a little bit. That's what I thought, at least. Also, although it does make logical sense, throughout all of Arrow Season 7 and all of Arrow Season 8, I've never really liked Oliver Queen's daughter, Mia. I think that the character is so forced. She doesn't have natural character progression. She's just I don't know, she tries to act tough, but Catherine McNamara, is not, she's good, but I don't know, something about this character has always been rather irritating to me. And to see that scene where Oliver gives her the Green Arrow mantle was frustrating, and I don't think that she's as deserving as it, although she is his daughter. But yeah, so I guess we'll see where that goes in part 4 and 5 in the Green Arrow spin-off, but yeah. But a scene with Oliver that I actually did love was the Barry and Oliver scene, where Oliver finds out that Barry is supposed to be sacrificing himself during the crisis, and then Oliver kind of like summons the Monitor, and they have a whole argument about I made a deal with you, and you're not honoring that deal. And that scene, especially with the Monitor, I just love the Monitor. Every single scene he's in, it's just amazing. And yeah, that scene was really, really cool, and it was just I just loved it. Also, after this, we see Alex go to get Lena in the tower. And I thought that Lena's redemption arc was very, very annoying and very out of character. I think Lena is not acting herself in this season as Supergirl. It's very annoying and frustrating, and it brought down the episode immensely. I feel like they could have used some of these scenes later on in the season, although we did need Lena's help. But still, I felt, but although it is a Supergirl episode, so I suppose I have to have some Supergirl characters and elements to it, but yeah. Also, the 2046 storyline that Sarah, Lois, and Brainiac 5 go on on Earth 16, I think it was. Anyway, that storyline was rather boring for me. There was no real point to it. There was no payoff or anything. But although I did find that the Sarah and Oliver scene was rather emotional for the most part, especially because it was technically Sarah's last time of seeing Oliver Queen. And Oliver Queen was broken, and to have Sarah back in his life for just a little bit was still very, very satisfying, I suppose, for him. So yeah, that's my take on that storyline. Now we're up to the final climax of part 1, and this is in the final battle. The thing I hate about this battle the most was that when Clark and Kara were in the air using their laser vision, or whatever you call it, heat vision, to destroy the quantum tower, or not to destroy, to boost the quantum tower. I was really frustrated when Superman fell before Supergirl, because now this is when I'm going to cause some controversy. But I really don't like that in Season 2 and Season 4 and Elseworlds, and both in Crisis, Superman is shown to look weaker, to boost Kara's ego and make her look better, even though I strongly agree that Superman, he shouldn't be weaker, he should be stronger and more experienced, as he has had many years of fighting and training and stuff. So I feel like that's just Supergirl writers trying to come up with an excuse, but I don't like it. Also, in the final battle, the Shadow Demons, their CGI was terrible. It looked so stupid. Like, what? It was this shot that's up on the screen right now may not be the best look at it, but like in live action, it just looked absolutely terrible. But I did really like the drone shots of like them fighting the Shadow Demons, which is up on screen right now. And yeah, also in the final battle, Oliver Queen shoots an arrow at the Monitor, which I don't really understand how that happened, but anyway, not the point. Oliver Queen's death was very heroic. Like it was really cool. He saved like 1 billion people or something. Like it's really heroic. But it was very sudden, and there wasn't really much tension, as I knew from set photos and even the synopsis of episode 3 that he was returning. So that was a bit, yeah. And also when when Oliver's brought back to the Arrow Cave by the Monitor, no one else other than my least favorite character from this episode, Mia, no one else really, reacted to Oliver's death. Barry barely cried, and you think, he's his best friend, and he'd be a bit more emotional. I mean, he could have been in denial, but still, yeah. Anyway, so my overall take of this episode, I thought it was a solid opening to the crossover. It was a lot of build up. I think it really hit the climax of at the end of episode 3, which I'll get to soon. But yeah, I think it was really good. Yeah, many problems, as I mentioned. And I think every episode was better than the previous one, so yeah. Anyway, now let's move on to part 2. Alright, let's start my review for part 2 with how the episode started off. So at the start of the episode, we see Kara, Kate, and Sarah, and they're having drinks and, remembering the life of Oliver Queen. And I thought the scene was very, very emotional, and it was a great way to pay tribute to Oliver Queen's death at the end of part 1. It makes sense that Barry wasn't there because obviously he was still mourning and in denial and stuff like that, as we see later. And so, yeah, I like that scene a lot. But then when the monitor comes in and Sarah says, "I promised my crew that they wouldn't have to be in another crossover," I got really annoyed because I get that Legends of Tomorrow is like a quirky show, but if the world, or even not even the world, if the whole multiverse is ending, why wouldn't you want all the help you could get, and why wouldn't you want to, play some role in saving the universe? Like, it's your universe too. Wouldn't you want it to be saved? So I think that was really, like, the Legends, like, come on, you can't be that lazy to not want to save your own world. Like, anyway, but because they don't want the Wave Rider taking over, Lila goes to Earth 74, and gets on their Legends Wave Rider. And it was very interesting to learn their backstory. Some of them died and some of them just retired. And also hearing Leonard Snart as their version of Gideon. It was really, really cool and surprising, because, he's one of my favorite, like, week-to-week villains, on The Flash. And, seeing him again or hearing him again was really, really cool. And I also loved seeing an alternative version of Mick Rory, even though he might not be my favorite character from Legends. Ray Palmer is, by the way. Even if he's not my favorite character, I know, and also sometimes he can be annoying, but considering all that, when he's given good material, his jokes land, and they're so funny and stuff, and I thought he was really funny in this episode. So yeah, props to everyone on Batwoman. The next scene where the Monitor is trying to inform the League about the 7 Paragons, and then Jonathan Kent, Clark's son, was like crying every time the Monitor tried to speak. He kept interrupting and stuff, and I felt that scene was very, very funny. And then I predicted in my head that Mick was the one that would calm him down. I was right, so yeah. And speaking of Paragons, I absolutely loved hearing about the Paragons and, like, learning what each person and who the people are and what each person is the Paragon of. Like, we didn't learn this now, but, like, Kate's the Paragon of Courage and Kara's the Paragon of Hope, and I thought that was really, really interesting, and it was really cool. And then next scene, we see Lex Luthor return, and I absolutely love John Crye's portrayal of the character last season of Supergirl, and so seeing him return was really, really cool. However, I did think that what he was doing throughout the episode, stealing the Book of Destiny and going around the multiverse, killing all the different types of Supermen, was a bit extreme and over the top. But, once we find out that he was doing it for the Monitor, I thought that made sense. So, yeah. I'm just going to quickly talk about this storyline now, and then we'll move on. The idea Barry has while talking to Iris about resurrecting Oliver Queen, I found this quite stupid, and it really gave no emotional payoff to his death, and it takes away the whole tension, because if one person was to die in next season of Flash or whatever, Barry would just say, why don't we just bring them back to the Lazarus pit or whatever, and it just takes away the whole tension. It's like, who cares if he's dead, he can just get resurrected, and yeah, I was very frustrated, but yeah. Although I did like seeing John Constantine back in the mix. He's never been in a crossover before, so that was really cool seeing him in this. And I also really hated Mia Smoke, whining to Sarah about, maybe if it's your father, your opinion matters too, or whatever it was. Mia Smoke told you just a couple minutes ago that I did not like her. And this episode clearly portrayed why I don't like her. And also, I was excited to hear a couple months ago that Jonah Hex was going to be in this crossover, but I think they completely underused him in this scene. Anyway, so yeah, that's my opinion on that storyline. Then Kate and Kara go to Earth 99, I think it was, and go to the Bruce Wayne mansion. And the first time we hear Kevin Conroy, and when he's walking down the stairs, I thought it was absolutely awesome. And even though I've not really seen many of his iterations of Batman, in Justice League Unlimited, I think it is, all this stuff, I've never seen any of those. But I thought he did a tremendous job, and his voice is Batman. It is the epitome version of Batman. I cannot stress that enough. Like, his voice it was just so, so good. And then Lois and Superman are going around the multiverse, and they find out that Lex Luthor is back in town and he's alive again. I really, really wish we saw more of the rivalry between Superman and Lex Luthor, because I love Superman, Tyler Hoechlin's version, and I love John Crye's version of Lex, and to see them two interact would have been absolutely amazing, but we didn't really see much of it. But what we got from Lex was still really good. And then I think the most anticipated moment from this entire episode was when we saw Earth 167, I think it was, which is obviously where Tom Welling was on, where Smallville was set. And even though I haven't seen much of Smallville, seen about 2 episodes here and there, I really loved seeing Tom Welling in a different iteration of Superman in this episode. I thought it was really, really good, and especially his interactions with Lex Luthor from Earth 38. And the way his story ended, I know that the show is about, him not fully becoming Superman until the very, very end and stuff like that. So, hearing about these stories and stuff, I think that the way they ended his story in this episode was really, really good. And actually what Mark said on the Crisis Aftermath show afterwards was that scene was actually written by the Smallville writers. So, yeah. But the way, he gave up his powers and, he had children and stuff, I thought that was handled really, really well. Going back to the Kevin Conroy storyline, I really loved hearing about, what led him to become such a dark person, and, about how he didn't like Superman. Like, Ben Affleck didn't like Henry Cavill in the movie, or the characters at least. They fought and stuff like that. I thought it was really, really interesting and really, really cool. And imagine if Kevin Conroy said, "Do you bleed?" like Ben Affleck did in the movie. Anyway, although I didn't like the way he died, I think that was a bit unnecessary. Kate pushing him into the electricity. Like, why would he even have an electricity thing lying around anyway? Anyway, so yeah, and then we go to Earth 96, I think it is, where we see Kingdom Come Superman. I'm just going to call it KC Superman, which is the, Brandon Routh returning and reprising his role as Clark Kent from the 2006 movie. Which I recently saw again, like to try and remember what his portrayal was like. Brandon Routh was absolutely amazing in this episode, and I loved learning about his backstory, and yeah, it was so cool, and seeing Lex Luthor come in and, using the Book of Destiny to make Superman fight Superman, I thought that was really cool. CGI was a bit off every now and then, but it was really, really cool. But I have a complaint in this scene, because I'm very picky. Superman's brainwash by Lex Luthor shouldn't have just been fixed by a speech, because then, like, that just defies the whole purpose of the Book of Destiny. I was really annoyed by that. Anyway, and then back on the Earth 74, I think it was, the Wave Rider, we see Ray and Clark Kent from Kingdom Come universe interact, where he's like, "Do you have a gluten thing too?" And I thought it was hilarious. And learning that Kate was a paragon, I didn't have a problem with. I've seen other people have a problem with that. I didn't. I thought it was fitting. And yeah, it was really, really good. It was good to, boost up Kate as a superhero and stuff. And then at the end, obviously, we see Kate and Kara have the discussion. And I was very intrigued to see where Kate with the kryptonite thing would lead. Didn't really go anywhere in the next episode, but I was interested at the time. And then at the very end, we see Lila visiting the transported to the Anti-Monitor's lair. I loved the introduction of the Anti-Monitor in this episode. It was so cool, and seeing Lila and Anti-Monitor interact, especially with what I knew was from the comics, where, spoiler alert, Lila or Harbinger kills the Monitor. I was very intrigued to see where that would lead, which it did lead somewhere. And so yeah, I really, really liked that introduction. In conclusion, I absolutely loved this episode. I loved seeing all the cameos from Tom Welling, obviously, and Kevin Conroy, and just all the interactions was really, really good. And obviously, Kingdom Come Superman. I loved learning about the Paragons, and I just really loved this episode. I think it was better than the other one. It wasn't as action orientated; it was more storyline orientated. But yeah, I really, really loved this episode. Now let's move on to part 3. Okay, so part 3 of Crisis opens with Ashley Scott reprising her role as Huntress from the original TV show Birds of Prey. And we go to Earth 203, I think it was, and I thought it was really, really cool. And I also really enjoyed having a little bit of an Oracle cameo. Is it a cameo? What do you call it, cameo? I don't know, but I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, the first time we see the heroes, or the main heroes, in this episode was on the Wave Rider, when we see a bridge open and Cisco, Ralph, and Frost come in, and they officially join the league for this crossover. And I loved Ray's line, "Oh, Cisco, thank God, I need another genius," or something like that. And I thought that was funny. I just love their friendship, you know. We've seen it in past crossovers too. Cisco and Ray, they have such a good friendship. And so we just get straight into it. We find out the last three Paragons. The Martian Manhunter, who is the Paragon of Honor, Barry Allen, who is the Paragon of Love, and Ryan Choi, who is the Paragon of Humanity. Which makes me think, why didn't they just figure out that Barry and Jean are Paragons in the episode before? I mean, I get it storytelling-wise, because they hadn't finished the Paragon Detector, but on the writer's end, it just made sense. You know, they're already there. Why don't you just, like, say that while they're there, and then... Anyway, I don't know why they left it until this episode, but not the point. Let's move on. I loved the scene where Sarah tells Diggle that Oliver Queen passed away in the first episode, and, you know, they resurrected him last episode in the Lazarus Pit. I thought that David Ramsey did a fantastic job in that scene, especially when the Monitor came in and got really angry at him. But another thing that they kept for some reason until this episode was, why didn't they just tell Diggle in the last episode, or the episode before that Oliver Queen died? Like, there was no need to keep that a secret, just... Anyway, let's move on. Cisco was a very funny character in this episode too, as he always is. He's my favorite. Other than Barry, is my favorite character from The Flash. Especially when, you know, he makes up his supervillain names and superhero names and stuff, and yeah, he's just so funny. And so I really liked that he didn't like the name Anti-Monitor. It was so him, and it was hilarious, especially when he saw Pariah in the tunnel later on, and he's like, no one consults me anymore for costumes or superhero names or whatever. That's really funny. And also when he goes around the corner and he sees the Monitor again, when he just comes from the main room in the Wave Rider, and he's like, didn't I just see you? Yeah, he had a lot of funny moments. Carlos just has such great material all the time, and he portrays that character. It really embodies it really well. So yeah, I really like that. And also, speaking of Cisco, Cisco gets his powers back as Vibe. The Monitor, you know, does his little wavy hand trick and gives him his Vibe powers back. I've missed Vibe way too much. Like, Vibe, as I said, Cisco was my favorite character other than Barry. Well, it still is. And Vibe was my favorite superhero other than The Flash as well. So seeing him back again, don't know why he had his powers last season, didn't really make sense. But now that he's back, and hopefully he stays back for the rest of the season, that is really good. And then the next scene is Barry saying goodbye to Iris, because he believes this is the last time that they'll see each other, because he's about a vanishing crisis. And I've got to say, even though I'm not really a diehard shipper, I think that this scene was quite emotional. I definitely think that Candace and Grant did a fantastic job. You know, you could really see that there was, like, in Barry's eyes, that this could be the last time I see my wife. And so I thought that was quite emotional. And even in the reunion later on, when Iris was like, oh my gosh, my husband actually didn't die. And that scene was quite emotional too. So good job to both of them in this episode. Now we go to the tunnel. Team Flash goes to the tunnel, and then Pariah turns up. I didn't say this in episode 1 review, I forgot to say this, but Nash Wells has turned into Pariah, which I thought the character was pretty good, and, you know, seeing him again as a superhero this time, who actually unleashed the Monitor, it's a really cool concept and cool character. But I hate that when Pariah shows up, there's about to be a tragedy, as he says, I bear witness to tragedy. And so I knew someone was about to die in this scene, in this episode. So yeah. I just want to quickly talk about this storyline, which I wasn't really a big fan of. It was when Kate and Kara were trying to rewrite Destiny and trying to bring back Earth-38, and Kate was trying to convince Kara, no, you'll turn mad or whatever, which is just a lazy excuse anyway. I think the storyline did 3 things wrong. 1, it dragged on way too much. There were like 4 scenes or something in the episode, which I think the time should have been taken on something else, like the Earth 90 Flash dying. I think that was very fast paced and just needed to, like, you know, slow down. So yeah, I think that dragged on too much. The second issue is that most of the storyline just consists of Kate and Kara walking around talking. If they were going to fight, I'd prefer it to be more action based. Which yeah, so that I wasn't a big fan of that. Also, it was pointless because, you know, it never went anywhere. I mean, I'm really glad that they showed Kara dealing with the grief of losing her whole planet. But I wish it was just like a couple scenes, you know, discussing it being sad, rather than this whole storyline which never goes anywhere. Although I did like the scene where Kate tortures Lex for answers of how to use the Book of Destiny. And yeah, I mean, obviously I love Lex, as you can tell. And then John Constantine, John Diggle, oh, two Johns, didn't even realize that. And he and Smoke, they go to Earth 666, which is the demon number, and then they see the Lucifer. I think that was a really, really cool cameo. I haven't seen the show, but it was just really, really cool. I found his character to be really, really funny, especially when it's like, oh, it's Constantine. How is it? I don't care. That scene was really, really funny. Actually, I want to play the clip right now. It's so funny.
Consider us even, John Constantine.
Constantine.
Is it? I don't care.
Although I wasn't surprised by this cameo because I knew in set photos and stuff that he was coming, but still, it was really, really cool, and I liked, you know, the interactions between John Constantine and Lucifer. So yeah, that was really good. And then I'll just quickly wrap up this storyline here. All the three of them go to Purgatory, which is represented in Oliver's mind as Lianu, which is, you know, it was pretty good. We see Oliver become the Spectre, you know, Jim Corrigan, I think, shows up, I think his name is, and says, you know, it's your turn, feel your destiny, and he chooses to be a Spectre. So I'm really interested to see where that will lead in the next 2 episodes. I'm really annoyed that we have to wait till January for that, but yeah, so I really like that storyline. Back to the Flash, the Team Flash storyline. We see that there is Earth 90 Flash running on the cosmic treadmill, powering the antimatter cannon. And it was really, really cool seeing him again. You know, John West's ship. I love him. You know, it was really cool seeing him again. And we also learned about what happened to him when the Monitor sent him away in Elseworlds. And, you know, we find out that he's actually being, like, forced to run on this thing for the Anti-Monitor, which is really, really cool. And also we find out that the first test was destroying Earth 2, which was in the season 8 of premiere of Arrow. And Cisco and Caitlin are kind of shocked, you know, that they find out that Harry and Jesse died. But Barry didn't seem to care. He was just like, let's get to it, you know, like, come on, just slow down and think about what Pariah just said. Like, anyway. And then we see Iris, Elongated Man, and Ray Palmer go to Ivy Town, I think it's called, and they meet Ryan Choi, who is the 7th Paragon. And I thought he was really, really cool. Ozuk Chow was a really great choice for this character. And I thoroughly enjoyed the scenes with him, especially when he was, like, really excited about meeting Ray Palmer. And he's like, I read all your articles or whatever. And it just, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Also, the scene where Lois is discussing the situation about the Earth being destroyed with the Monitor, and we learn a bit more about him, you know, his backstory. We find out that he lost his whole home and his family and stuff, which was very sad to hear, and I'm really excited to see the rest of his backstory and the Anti-Monitor's backstory in episode 4, which Monica Garrett said in the Crisis Aftermath we'll be seeing. And then Pariah brings in Black Lightning into the tunnel. And it was really cool seeing him being introduced to the Arrowverse. And, you know, he's really emotional about losing his world and family. I think Cress Williams did a really good job in that scene. And then they're like, okay, well, now that the antimatter cannon isn't having someone running on the treadmill to power it, how are we going to stop it? So Barry and Earth 90 Flash go into Flash time. And I love that power so much. It really shows off the Flash's abilities really well. And it was so cool. And then we eventually find out that Earth 90 Flash is going to die because, you know, he's such a hero that he can't let Barry do it himself, even though that's what all of this season's been preparing him for. But I think this was pretty sad, I guess, because, you know, he's obviously had a whole season of television, so he's got a loyal fan base and stuff. Although it was very predictable because literally we saw it in the trailers that his emblem was, like, burnt up on the ground after someone running on the treadmill. So I kind of connected the dots together. I think everyone was saying that on Instagram and stuff too because, you know, the Monitor said the Flash must die, but he never said which one. So, yeah, I think it was kind of predictable. But also when John Raz's ship's running on the treadmill, his running looked absolutely terrible. Needed some lessons from Grant Gustin. But I also really liked seeing the flashbacks to his original show. I haven't seen it. It's a bit dated for my liking. But it's, yeah, it was really, really cool. And also the scene where Black Lightning interacts with the Flash and they, you know, they shoot lightning off their hands and stuff was really cool. And especially later on in the Wave Rider when they're talking about their dads and stuff like that and they share their similarities and differences. I think that scene was really, really good and I hope to see more of the interactions in the future of the Arrowverse. Alright, then we get to the absolute climax of this episode and the first half of Crisis in general, which was absolutely insane and mind-boggling at the time. So we get all the superheroes back on the Wave Rider. Barry and Iris reunite. And then Harbinger comes back on the Wave Rider. And I knew something was up. Because, you know, I know what the story is. And especially how they pretend like nothing happened after the last episode. I knew something was up. And I'm glad Barry realized it too, and everyone. They realized that she was being taken over by the Anti-Monitor, which was absolutely insane. And we see Anti-Monitor finally showing us who he is. And he's so overpowered and posed a major threat. He literally moved his hand a little bit, and then all the heroes fall to the ground, which was absolutely insane. It's so good. We see the iconic comic moment. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Iconic comic moment. Anyway, we see that when the Monitor dies by Harbinger, although it was insane at the moment. I did think that was going to be a cliffhanger, which it wasn't. It was part of it. But it was really, really insane. And then we see Earth 1 get destroyed. I was assuming that all the universes would combine into one, or 5 of them at least at the end of the crossover, because that's what happened in the comics. But they all get destroyed, including the Wave Rider, which is has everyone. It has Superman. It has oh my gosh, Iris. It has Ryan. It was just insane. But luckily we have Pariah, who sends them all to the Vanishing Point, and I'm so glad that the Vanishing Point came back into play. Because, you know, it hasn't been around in the Arrowverse for a while, since, Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 or 2. And just see Kingdom Come Superman die, which was really sad. And instead, Lex replaced himself as the 7th Paragon, which was so mean, but so him. That's literally what Lex Luthor is. He's a conceited, selfish person, and that is so him. So I think, you know, CW really understands that character. And so that is the climax, and that is the cliffhanger for the part 3 of The Crisis, which will lead into part 4 when they go back to the Dawn of Time in January. I'm so excited. I'm so annoyed we have to wait a whole month to see it. My overall thoughts of this episode was it was obviously the strongest. It had the biggest cliffhanger at the moment, probably in the Arrowverse. It was absolutely insane. I just really, really, really enjoyed this episode. Crisis in general hasn't been as action-packed as I thought it was going to be, but it's more just storylines, which, you know, my favorite episodes are episodes that have one storyline to it, Into Flash Time, all these things. But when they have multiple storylines, it's very convoluted, and to see it all in one storyline was what I was really hoping it would be, Endgame and stuff. It's gonna be Endgame. I think maybe obviously not to the extent of budget and stuff like that, but I think it'll have hopefully I really hope it'll have a satisfying conclusion, especially to the Oliver Queen storyline and stuff. I'm not liking that in this season. In this crossover. But I really hope it'll have, you know, a big satisfying conclusion. I have faith in CW, and so I look forward to seeing it conclude on January. So yeah, that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I've been talking for 40 minutes now. I have no idea. So thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe and turn on the post notifications so you guys know when I upload a video. Be sure to check out some other reviews I have on this channel. It is in the top right corner of this video. And also, I am so happy to say that I hit 100 subscribers on this channel recently in the last couple of weeks and stuff, which is absolutely insane. So thank you guys so much. To celebrate, I will be doing a 100 subscriber special, where I'll actually give away stuff in the next couple of weeks, and I'm so excited for that special. It'll be top 15 minutes of my channel. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for watching this video again, and I will see you next time. My name's Jordan, and I'm out. Bye!